At the same time, I'd like also to thank the Men's Ministry for this, in my opinion, a very good and timely discussion, starting at this time of the year when, again, we are setting our mental calendars as we go through, we try to go through the year ahead. So on behalf of the Men's Ministries, if there are any other topics regarding this piece which you'd want us or the men to look at, I would urge that you feel free to approach the various individuals, and then through the resources which are in the Men's Ministries, that can be arranged. As I mentioned last week, we did discuss a lot of things, and today again we'll discuss a few more things. And even the items which we'll be discussing, in themselves, just on the surface, they can go deeper. Financial literacy, financial well-being is a very wide topic. A topic where, of course, people have written books, a topic where people write articles in newspapers every week, once a week for the whole year, and then it even continues. I don't know if they even repeat the write-ups and so on, but they have enough material to write accordingly. So if there's anything else which you'd want, and you feel like we didn't really talk about because we are really just looking at the surface, that can be arranged and we can go deeper. So last week, we discussed many things, like I said, and we started by building up a case for financial literacy, what it's all about, the scope, the why, and why it's important for us to be literate, financially literate, why it's important for us to be financially well-being. We also talked about the fact that it's one of the 4 pillars of the well-being, others being social, physical, and mental well-being, financial being the 4th one, and that there has to be a balance in all the well-being for you to be fully well-being, if I'm using the word rightly. If you miss out on one, of course it will cause an imbalance on the other, and then it will affect how your fullness will be. We also talked about the financial planning life cycle and the stages which come in and the things which we need to look at as we go through the life cycle. We looked at the principles as well. We spent some time on the principles. Even today we'll apply some of those principles which we discussed, and those are very, very key because of course they set the foundation in terms of what we're going to discuss now, and even just how you go ahead applying the principles which we discussed. We spent some time as well on the personal balance sheet, which is another key element which one has to do. Today we'll look at the other part of your financial statement, so to say. For accountants, you know that your financial statements include, among other things, your balance sheet and your profit and loss, or your income statement. So we'll look and touch a bit on your income, your expenses, and what you need to do for you to be able to have your proper financial situation. And lastly, we also talked about lifestyle inflation and how it impacts us and how we should be considering it and manage it so that it doesn't take us into a bad road. So this week, our focus is on financial goal setting and savings. Just those two, and we are done. In life and in everything you do, it is important to set goals. They give you purpose, they give you focus, they give you direction. If you don't have goals, then of course you won't know where you're going. But if you have goals, you've said, this is where I want to be, this is where I want to go, then you'll be able to direct your actions towards those goals. And it's a similar thing with financial goals or financial saving goals in terms of what we'll be looking at specifically. You need to have financial goals or financial saving goals which will tell you or help you decide what you want to do or be by a certain age or a certain point in time, how you are going to get there, the kind of saving strategy which you are going to use to get there. It's something which the institutions have really perfected, government, companies, and so on. And you see them doing that on an annual basis and have reviews on a regular basis. So you see government talking about the National Development Plan. Normally it's a long-term plan. And then on an annual basis, they talk about the budget and have the various consultations and come up with something which is in line with the National Development Plan. So every year they come up with a budget which will take them to where they set themselves to be at a particular point in time. Companies will do the same thing with a corporate plan or 5-year strategy. And then on an annual basis, they sit down and review and say, okay, fine, where are we based on where we said we wanted to be? What can we change? What can we twist in our strategy? What can we increase, reduce, and focus? So even from our perspective, it should be the same thing. So as we set our goals now, as we set our goals last month, as we set our goals next month, we should have a point in time where on an on a regular basis, monthly basis, even weekly if you have to, you sit down and go through and see if you're moving according to plan. Part of our job or my job is on a monthly basis to report and say, you said that January, this is what we are going to be, this is what we're going to reach or attain, but we're actually here. We are above, we are below, and this is why. And then, of course, we discuss how we are going to change it such that we change February and make up for the gap we did in January, or we use whatever we did in January to make February even better, as January was. At the same time, saving, which is the other part of the discussion, is a habit. It's just something which we need to get into ourselves. If we don't get into that habit, then it will be very difficult to attain the goals which we are talking about. It's one easy and straightforward strategy to use for a financial literacy and well-being perspective to enable one attain the goals which one wants. Personally, I started saving when I was in primary school, primary school. First, of course, it was, you make yourself a piggy bank, you get a Milo or a milk tin can, make a hole, seal it, and then start throwing coins in there. I graduated to opening an account whilst I was still at primary school, with the post office. At that time, post offices were allowed to save money. So you go, they do a nice little book for you, the way you have a savings account, and every time you put money, they write and tell you how much you've put in, how much you've withdrawn, and so on and so forth. So it's something which personally I've been doing for ages, and it's something which is very much a habit. Hopefully it's not an obsession, but it's a good habit I think I have. And lastly, on the savings piece, is something where, again, when you start small. And it can be discouraging because you have your 1,000 shilling, 10,000 shilling, and you're saying, but how am I going to get to 100,000, 200, 500,000 shilling? It will take me so many years, and so on and so forth. But time moves so fast. 5 years, 6 years, 10 years, you won't even see how it moved. Right now, based on the discussion we had last week, I'm in my pre-retirement stage. And I can't even see how time moved from when I started work to now. I just can't see it. It's just moved so fast. And it's the same for me, it's the same for you, it's the same for everyone. So we shouldn't be discouraged when we start looking at how much time it takes for one to earn or make so much money in terms of savings. Just start the habit, put your mind to something else, it will grow, it will happen, and you'll be amazed when you look back and say, wow, this has actually happened. And one last point again on the same, and in this case I'll go to what the Bible has guided us in Proverbs 14:23. You can talk, you can learn, you can read so much, so many, you can be an expert and a professor and so on and so forth. But if you don't get to do what you're preaching, if you don't get to do and action what you're saying, then you're just wasting your time and everyone else's time. So as we learn, as we look at and pick up all these tips which you are referring to, let's keep in mind that from here, at least pick up that one thing which you said for you it's important, and then do it. Just start doing it. Just take the first step, and you'll get there. I'll give you, and I'll ask you to Google in your own time. There's a lady called Lisa Nichols. She's got a very good story about how she applied the principles of saving to be where she was at some point in her life to where she is now. You read at the bottom that she's an author, she's a speaker, she's a founder of Motivating the Masses. But she wasn't that person at that point in time. But the piece I like about this quote is just the last part. And I started doing it. The fact that, I heard this, I heard that, I read, and so on and so forth. I heard everything. But the thing I wasn't doing, or things I did well, was to actually do what I heard. It's actually do what I was being told to do. All the good things I heard, I just started doing them, and she got to where she is. And the other piece, when you look at her story, which I'd want you to focus on, is some of the things, some of the sacrifices, the huge sacrifices she had to do to get to where she is. And back to our verse, the hard work comes in. The hard work is hard work. It's not easy, to never be easy, it won't be easy, but she made that sacrifice and got to where she is right now, and she's still going. So about savings, a few points, which again is probably common knowledge. We know these things. Maybe we do, maybe we don't know them, but it's a reminder. The first thing we're told about savings is pay yourself first. Always remember, pay yourself first. From last week's session, I did talk about the fact that when we talk about, and I'm talking about paying or income or salary or whichever, I'm saying it's after all the deductions have been made for your taxes, your NSSF, and then of course your tithe, and now what remains for you to act on or use. So when you're talking about paying yourself first, it's after all those things have been taken out, and then now you say, out of what remains, before I even buy the matoke for lunch or for the month or whichever, let me take out what I need to save, and then now I can go about and use the money which remains. And it's really not about how much you earn. You can earn 10 million shilling, you can earn 1 million shilling, you can earn 500,000 shilling, you can still save. It's just the amount which is different. So someone earning 10 million can save 1 million. Someone earning 200,000 shilling can save 1,000 shilling, can save 2,000 shilling, can save 5,000 shilling. And then it adds up, and it will reach a point where it becomes very useful. When you save, understand what you're saving for. It's difficult if you're just saving, for the sake of it. You might lose the motivation. But if you have a goal, which is what we'll be talking about, then it becomes easier. Then it becomes better, because then you can push to achieve that goal which you've set for yourself. When you're saving or investing, do it in something. Don't just save and put in nothing. Put in a financial institution, put in a business, put in land, on appreciating asset, and I'm very specific on that, an appreciating asset. There's no point in you buying land and then it doesn't do anything for you. You're able to